I've worked with a lot of people who wanted to start businesses, and after a while, I realised I was seeing the same strengths warning signs over and over again. Eventually, I narrowed down what I was seeing to 10 skills. I've put all 10 into a free quiz, which I'll show you in a minute. But 3 of my skills are different: grit, financial literacy, and risk awareness. And they're different because what they really represent are 3 responsibilities you can't avoid. And you can't outsource them either, although people do try. Take grit. If you try to start a business when you don't have enough of it, sooner or later you'll give up because business is hard. I think it's rewarding, but it's hard. And with money, well, it's entirely up to you whether your business actually makes any, and no one cares about your future as much as you do. Risk is the same. If you're set and determined to make a bad decision when you're in business for yourself, there won't be anybody to stop you, and no safety net unless you've put one there yourself. And yes, you can obviously pay people to do the things you don't like doing. You can pay people to manage your money and to read contracts before you sign them. But ultimately, everything that happens will always be your responsibility. So if you pay someone else and they make a mistake, whatever happens, you own it. So if you don't have my 3 non-negotiable skills and you're not prepared to develop them, or if you think I'm wrong or exaggerating, which I promise I'm not, you should think very carefully before starting a business. So let's talk more about grit. Grit asks you this question: when the chips are down, when you're bored, lonely, frustrated, or sad, will you keep doing what needs to be done? Because if that's not you, there'll be no one to make you do it. Grit is the ability to set goals, make plans, and then keep doing the work, even when nothing seems to be happening or you don't feel like doing it. I'm going to define grit as a combination of ambition, self-control, and resilience. So ambition gets you started, it sets your goals, but self-control and resilience are what make you do the work and stop you giving up when things get tough. And please pay attention to self-control, because it sounds so old-fashioned. But I think we should bring it back. Self-control is a close relation to discipline. But if you've ever wanted to know how to actually be disciplined about something, you do it by practicing self-control. Self-control is the day-to-day and minute-to-minute decisions that over time add up to discipline. And because self-control is something you practice, you can build it like a muscle. When I was mentoring startups during COVID, lack of grit was one of the biggest problems I encountered. So many of the participants, it was a government program, just weren't serious. Drove me crazy. And I usually picked up on people like this in the first half an hour of talking to them. But I particularly remember one woman where I think my enthusiasm for her business idea blinded me a bit. She was middle-aged single mother, never had a business before, and her idea was to buy cheap denim jackets and bling them up with beads, crystals, feathers, and sell them online. Well, as I said, I thought it was a great idea, a perfect starter business. But after 3 months of calling her, she still hadn't shown me a jacket. Even though I said I'd personally show one to the owner of a shop I knew, still nothing. Even worse, she was getting more and more annoyed with me for asking. Anyway, lack of grit. Lack of set the goal and do it is one of the most common problems I see with people starting a business. For my client, I think she was afraid of showing me something in case I didn't like it. Thinking and talking was easier. But whatever her real reason in business, you just can't do that. You obviously have to be realistic, but you also have to keep going, even when you don't want to do it. And if it helps at all, it's taken me a full year to start posting these videos. I can speak to a lecture hall full of 300 people, but not to a camera. But here I am. Which brings me to the only ways I know to help people be grittier, which is first, to practice self-control. Become the person who finishes what they start day after day. And second, make sure you really want whatever you're aiming for. I find that helps a lot. Now, before I talk about my second non-negotiable, I want to show you the quiz I made for you. The best entrepreneurs I've ever met are usually strong in all 10 of the skills I've put into the quiz. And I thought you might find it interesting to compare yourself. Although please keep in mind, the people I knew were already at the top of their game. So don't assume they started out good at everything. So you start the quiz by rating yourself across all 10 of the skills. And when you're done, you'll get a personal profile, completely tailored to you. The 3 skills I'm talking about in the video, grit, finance, and risk, are first treated separately because they're the 3 big responsibilities. But the other 7 skills are more flexible. And although you get a score for each one, I've also grouped them into 4 capabilities, which will make it easier to use them when you're figuring out your business design. Because you'll want your business, where possible, to leverage your strengths and work around your weaknesses. Anyway, the skill takes a few minutes, it's free, and you get a personalised report to download and keep. I've put the link in the notes below. Now my second non-negotiable skill is money. And the question to ask yourself here is this: do you care about money enough to want to understand it? And if you're already good with money, are you willing to learn the business side of it? So for this skill, you don't need to be a math genius, but you do need to be interested in how businesses make money and the corollary, how they lose it. It'll be a big help if you're willing to learn some basic bookkeeping and how to read your numbers and investment concepts, because businesses are also investments, and tax laws are hugely important. Anyway, if someone told me they had no interest in these subjects, I'd probably look at them with a puzzled expression. One of my more interesting COVID clients was 2 young sisters whose idea was to sell hair products for curly girls. The first time I spoke with them, they were super excited because they'd just made their first sale. So, typical accountant, I was happy for them, of course, but I also wanted them to tell me their numbers. Numbers with dollar signs in front of them make me happy, although they were strangely reluctant to tell me. And in the end, it turned out they'd been buying individual hair products, then bundling them together to sell online, but they just sold their first bundle for less than the individual products had cost them. And no matter what I said or how I explained it, I could not make those girls understand that yes, it was all very exciting, but they really mustn't do that again. In the end, they told me I didn't understand. So if you agree with the curly girls, if you think I just didn't get it, please ask yourself why you want to start a business. Because businesses are about making money. And a business that doesn't make money has a name. It's called a hobby. And very important, please do not assume you can pay an accountant or advisor to take care of the money side of things. There's nothing wrong with getting some help, but you absolutely must not ever rely on an accountant or anyone else when it comes to your money and your future. It's too important. Now to my third non-negotiable skill, risk, which a lot of people probably think is boring. So if that's you, try asking yourself this question: what would happen if I lost everything? I'm serious, because life is risky, but you're probably used to that, so you don't think about it too much. Maybe you look both ways before crossing the road and have home insurance. Hopefully you've read the fine print in the contract. But starting a business means new risks you've probably never thought about before. So you need to get familiar. This is incredibly important because, as I've already said, business is about making money. Or if you don't want to lose the shirt on your back, you really must understand what risks you're taking. That means seeing them, understanding them, quantifying them, which is putting a dollar value on any possible loss, and then thinking about the precautions you might want to take. And when I asked, what would you do if you lost everything? This is what I meant. The very first lesson is never risk more than you can afford to lose, especially if you've got people who depend on you or if you're close to retirement. I don't think anyone should put their retirement money or their home at risk, but people do it all the time. I had another client, a man married with young children. He borrowed $50,000 from his father-in-law to start a mobile welding business. The first time I spoke with him, he'd already bought the van and fitted it out, and he wanted me to help him with the legal side of things. But as he explained his idea to me, I started thinking about hot flames in suburban driveways. I wasn't even sure it'd be legal. So easy way to find out, I told him to call an insurance broker and get a cover note for the business. I didn't hear from him again after that. He didn't take my calls. The lesson is this: most business risks you should be able to see if you give it some thought. Just ask yourself, what could go wrong? And what would happen to you or to other people if it did? Then decide what you want to do about it. And of course, get help in the beginning. Accountants, lawyers, insurance brokers, that's what they're for. But if you ask a lawyer to read through every contract you ever signed in your life, you'll be paying a lot in legal fees. And something they consider normal and completely fine might be unacceptable to you, which is why you have to understand the risks yourself, because it's your future on the line, not theirs. And that's it. Now you know my big three: gritty, financially literate, and risk aware. You cannot outsource these three. The other 7 skills in my quiz are important, but as I said before, they're more flexible, because once you've pinned down your strengths and weaknesses, you can design your business around them. Anyway, the link to the quiz is in the notes. Bye for now.